All right, so David Lynch. We're going deep today, really deep. People want to know, I mean, what is it about his films? Why are they captivating, but like so disturbing at the same time?
That's a question that's been around forever, honestly. People have been trying to figure that out for
For
decades.
decades, yeah.
Yeah.
But luckily, we've got this podcast episode all about him, so this is going to be our roadmap for this deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So where do we even start? I mean, is there like a Lynch 101 we can give the folks at home?
I guess the best place to start is that Lynch, well, he doesn't just tell a story, he creates like an experience,
Hmm.
you know? He uses this thing called dream logic.
Green logic, huh?
Yeah. It basically means he kind of throws traditional storytelling like out the window.
Okay, so less straightforward plot, more like,
More like a dream. You know how in dreams things are all fragmented and images are symbolic and time and space don't really make sense?
oh yeah, for sure.
That's what watching one of his films feels like. It's like he's inviting us into his subconscious, but with all the disturbing stuff left
Mhm.
in.
Ah, okay. Now that you say it like that, I kind of get why people find them both fascinating and disturbing.
Exactly. And, take Mulholland Drive, for example. I mean, two women meet, one has amnesia, and their realities start to blend together.
Blend together, yeah.
Yeah. And it's all nightmarish, almost hallucinatory. And the point isn't to follow a plot, really. It's about feeling your way through the story, through the mood.
Feeling your way through. I like that.
Yeah,
So he's playing with our senses, not just our minds.
you got it. And one way he does that is through sound. People always talk about how creepy the sound design is in his films.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's not just creepy, it's designed to get under your skin, like the industrial sounds in Eraserhead.
Oh yeah, an Eraserhead, yeah. It's like super unsettling.
Right. And he also distorts familiar sounds. So you have this sense of the uncanny, like something familiar but made strange and disturbing.
It's like he's taking the ordinary and twisting it into something
Yeah,
sinister, almost.
exactly. That's just one tool in his toolbox, though. We've also got to talk about his recurring themes. One of the biggest is this double life idea.
Yeah, the double life. I've heard of that.
Yeah, like in Lost Highway, you have a man who seems to transform into another person. He's living two totally separate lives.
Two separate lives, wow.
Right. And this idea, this duality that we might not know ourselves or even others as well as we think it, comes up a lot in his work.
It's like he's saying everyone's got a dark side or a hidden self, which I gotta say is a pretty creepy thought.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into another big theme, this contrast between innocence and corruption.
Innocence and corruption, okay.
Yeah, like think about Twin Peaks. You've got this picture-perfect small town, but underneath there's this web of secrets and violence and darkness.
Ah, Twin Peaks. So classic.
Right, and Lynch is making us see that darkness, that it lurks beneath the surface of what seems totally normal.
So it's not just about being shocking. It's about making us question what's real and what's hidden. Like,
Right.
even in our own lives, maybe.
Absolutely. He's also got this thing about fractured identities.
Your identities, huh?
Yeah, like Fred Madison in Lost Highway, he kind of loses himself. His identity just splinters apart. It mirrors how we feel trying to figure out Lynch's films.
Wow, that's deep.
Hmm.
So we've got dream logic, distorted sounds, double lives, innocence, and corruption. It's all feeling very well.
Yeah.
Lynchian.
Yeah, there's really no other word for it. It's a very deliberate choice. So let's look at some of his specific films and how they, bring these themes to life.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm ready. Where do we start?
I think we got to start with the one that seems to be on everybody's must-watch list, Eraserhead.
Eraserhead, okay.
Eraserhead is, well, it's pure Lynch. It was his first feature film. Black and white, totally surreal, just this descent into a nightmare.
Oh, wow. A nightmare, huh?
Yeah. It's full of disturbing images, like that deformed baby. And remember those industrial sounds we were talking about?
Yeah, oh yeah. They were intense.
It's a film that gets under your skin and just stays there.
Stays there, yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine. So would it be fair to say this is where he like solidified his style?
Pretty much. It definitely set the stage for what was to come. And then you've got Blue Velvet.
Okay, Blue Velvet, yeah.
This one dives into the dark underbelly of suburban America. It's neo-noir, full of mystery and violence. And it's where we really start to see his fascination with the dark side of, like, perfect American life.
I've heard that Dennis Hopper is absolutely terrifying in that movie.
Oh, yeah. His performance as Frank Booth is iconic, totally unhinged. It's like he embodies that raw, unrestrained darkness that Lynch is so good at portraying. And Blue Velvet shows how he uses color, deep reds, blues, and blacks, to really ramp up that sense of unease and mystery.
Wow. Okay, so I'm starting to see how all these elements come together.
Mm.
What about Twin Peaks? That was really broken into mainstream culture, right?
Oh yeah, Twin Peaks. This is where Lynch just like masterfully blends genres. It starts out like a murder mystery, but quickly becomes something much stranger, much more otherworldly.
Otherworldly, I like that word.
Right. And the Red Room scenes with the backwards talking and that super unsettling vibe, those are pure Lynchian surrealism.
The Red Room, yeah, that was pretty wild.
Right. And, it wasn't just a one-off. He revisited Twin Peaks years
It
later.
did, yeah.
Yeah, Twin Peaks. The return in 2017, it took all that was strange and wonderful about the original and just cranked it up to 11.
Hmm.
Really challenging to watch, but shows that Lynch isn't afraid to push boundaries.
Okay, so disturbing imagery, unsettling sounds, and a love for the surreal. It's all starting to make sense.
And we haven't even gotten to Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive.
Oh, yeah, those are big ones, right?
Oh, yeah. They're all about identity, perception, and the very nature of reality. Lost Highway feels like a fever dream, and Mulholland Drive is, well, fragmented narrative, haunting imagery. People consider it his masterpiece.
His masterpiece, huh? I'll have to check it out.
You should.
All right, so I think we've laid a pretty solid foundation here. We've got the key themes, the visual style, the unsettling vibes. It's all starting to feel a little,
Wow.
well, Lynchian, right?
That's the perfect word for it. And it's not just a feeling, it's something he's carefully crafted.
So where do we go from here? I'm ready to dive deeper into this Lynchian void.
Let's do it. In part 2, we'll unpack some of the specific techniques he uses to create that signature style. We'll dissect some iconic scenes, analyze his use of sound and color, and really get into the nuts and bolts of what makes a Lynch film, well, a Lynch film.
That sounds awesome. I can't wait. Okay, so we're back and ready to go even deeper into that Lynchian void.
All right, let's do it.
We've got like the foundation, but how does he do it? How does he create these worlds that are like so unsettling, yet I can't look away?
Well, that's the thing about Lynch, He's like a master craftsman. These techniques, they're not just gimmicks, they're carefully chosen tools to create that signature atmosphere.
So it's more than just weird images and spooky sounds. There's got to be more to it, right?
Oh, yeah, a lot more. Let's start with slow motion. Lynch loves using slow motion at these, really crucial moments.
Slow motion,
But not just for dramatic effect. He wants us to really observe. Like, hey, look closer. There's more here than you think.
Oh, okay. Like in Mulholland Drive, when Naomi Watts' character is auditioning and there's that slow motion close-up of her face.
Yes.
It's like so intense you can feel her nervousness.
Right. He uses slow motion to heighten those emotions, to make us experience it with the characters. And speaking of close-ups.
Yeah, the close-up.
Another Lynch trademark. He gets right up in those characters' faces, forcing us to confront their raw emotion.
No hiding allowed.
Nope. It's like he's stripping away any pretense, showing us the raw human experience, warts and all.
Not always pretty, I bet.
Not always, but definitely powerful. Think about those close-ups of Laura Palmer in Twin Peaks.
Yeah, Laura Palmer, yeah.
Beautiful and heartbreaking, they reveal so much about what she's going through.
And he sometimes combines those close-ups with those slow, deliberate zooms, like in Lost Highway. When it zooms in on Bill Pullman's face, it's like we're being sucked into his paranoia and confusion.
Yes, that's Lynch playing with perspective, He wants us to feel like we're right there in the character's head, experiencing it with them.
It's like, almost immersive in a way.
Exactly. And then sometimes he'll focus on these seemingly insignificant things, a flickering light bulb, a curtain blowing in the wind.
And he makes them feel ominous somehow.
Exactly. He's a master of the uncanny. Taking the ordinary and turning it into something unsettling. It's like he's saying, even the most mundane things can be hiding a dark side, if you look closely enough.
Okay, now I'm getting a little creeped out just thinking about it. But we can't forget about color, right? His films are always visually striking.
Oh, color! Another key tool in his arsenal. He uses these really specific color palettes to create moods and atmospheres.
Color palettes, okay.
Yeah, like the deep reds and blues in Blue Velvet. They just amplify that feeling of danger and mystery.
And the lighting, too. Always so dramatic, so shadowy. It's like hiding things as much as revealing them.
Exactly. Light and shadow are almost characters themselves in his films. Think about how he uses darkness in Twin Peaks to create this sense of, dread, like something's lurking just out of sight.
Spooky. Okay, so we've talked about visuals, but what about sound? I'm starting to realize it's like a huge part of the whole Lynchian experience.
It really is. He's a sonic auteur. He knows that sound can be just as powerful as any image.
Yeah, like you said earlier, those industrial sounds in Eraserhead, super effective at creating that nightmarish, oppressive feeling.
Right. It's almost like the sound is a physical manifestation of Henry's anxiety, reflecting the bleakness of his world.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. And then there's how he uses music, sometimes putting these sweet, innocent melodies against scenes of violence or disturbing imagery.
It's so jarring. It's totally intentional. He wants us to question what we're seeing and feeling.
Yeah, I can see that. And of course, we can't forget Angelo Badalamenti.
Oh, Badalamenti, yeah.
His music is like synonymous with Lynch's films.
His scores are essential, definitely. Haunting, melancholic, and always a bit surreal.
Like the Twin Peaks theme.
Exactly. It perfectly captures that unsettling mix of beauty and darkness that the show is known for.
Or the dreamy jazz in Mulholland Drive.
Yeah. Seductive, but so unsettling. It's like the music is guiding us through Lynch's world, deeper into the mystery.
Okay, so I think I'm starting to get a handle on Lynch's techniques now.
Good. Now, are you ready to see how it all comes together?
Oh yeah, let's do it. Where do we start?
Let's dissect some iconic scenes, the ones that really showcase his mastery. And I think we have to start with the diner scene from Mulholland Drive.
Oh, the Donner scene. The one that supposedly terrifies everyone.
That's the one. It's a masterclass in building suspense and using sound to create terror. You have these two guys in a diner, and one is describing a nightmare he had about this, like, terrifying figure behind the diner.
Okay, a nightmare behind the diner.
Yeah.
I'm already creeped out.
Right. And as he's describing it, the camera focuses on that space behind the diner, but we can't see anything.
So Lynch is already, like, playing with our expectations, making us anticipate something scary.
Exactly. And then as the tension builds, the sound design kicks in. This low, rumbling drone that gets under your skin makes you feel super uneasy.
So what happens when they finally look?
Let's just say it's not what you expect. Horrifying, but also strangely beautiful. It's pure Lynch, blending dream logic with visceral horror. It's something you just have to experience.
Okay, adding that to my watch list, but maybe not right before bed.
Yeah, probably a good idea. What about another scene? Maybe something from Twin Peaks.
Oh, Twin Peaks. Let's do it.
Okay, so the Red Room sequence.
The Red Room. Okay.
This is Lynch's surrealism on full display. It's this otherworldly space, defies all logic and time.
Yeah. The backward speech, the weird lighting, the creepy characters, like, it's stepping into a nightmare.
Exactly, but it's also, like, strangely compelling. You can't help but be drawn in.
I guess it's like he's inviting us to question our perceptions, to just, like, embrace the mystery.
That's it. That's the beauty of Lynch. His work is meant to be felt, experienced, not necessarily understood. He wants us to engage with the unknown, to face that darkness within us and the world around us.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. He's not just trying to shock us, he's making us think, making us feel.
And that's what makes his work so powerful. His films, they stay with you long after you've seen them.
So we've covered a lot, from slow motion and close-ups to color and lighting and sound design.
Yeah, we've really explored how he creates that signature atmosphere and dug into some iconic scenes.
But there's still more to explore, right?
Yeah.
Like, how has all of this influenced the film world? I mean, you mentioned earlier that other directors seem to be inspired by him.
Oh, absolutely. Lynch's influence is huge. He's inspired a whole generation of filmmakers who are pushing the boundaries and exploring that darker side of cinema.
So he's paved the way for others to embrace those darker, more surreal stories.
Exactly. He's shown that audiences are looking for stories that challenge them, that delve into the shadows and ask those tough questions.
Okay, so Lynch has inspired other directors, but how? Like, what's the evidence?
Well, sometimes it's subtle, but you can definitely see his influence all over modern film and TV.
Okay.
Yeah. Think about the eerie atmosphere in Stranger Things, or like the crazy narratives in Westworld.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Those shows, they wouldn't exist without Lynch, you know? He showed that you can embrace the strange, the unsettling, and audiences will follow.
So it's like he gave other creators permission to go to those dark, surreal places in their storytelling.
Exactly. He proved that audiences are hungry for stories that challenge how they see the world, you know? Stories that aren't afraid to go into the shadows to ask the tough questions.
Yeah, I get that. And it's not just the style, right? It's the themes, too.
Right.
Like the double life, fractured identity, blurring reality, and dreams.
Right.
Those are all classic Lynch, but they're popping up everywhere these days.
They are. Like, think about Black Swan.
Oh, yeah, Black Swan. Okay.
The main character's descent into madness, that whole blurred line between what's real and what's fantasy.
Mhm.
Pure Lynch.
Pure Lynch. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. And I've heard people compare Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream to Lynch's work, too.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, the nightmarish visuals, the exploration of addiction, there's definitely a connection there.
Definitely. Both of those films tap into that same kind of psychological unease that Lynch is known for. And, you've even got directors like Denis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve, yeah, the guy who directed New Dune.
Exactly. He's a huge Lynch fan, and it shows. You can see echoes of Lynch's visual style, his way of building worlds, all over Villeneuve's work.
Now I kind of want to watch Arrival again. That movie had such a mysterious, otherworldly feel to it.
It totally did. And we can't forget about Ari Aster.
Ari Aster, the Hereditary and Midsommar guy.
Yeah. Psychological horror, disturbing imagery. He learned a lot from Lynch.
It's funny you mention him because people always talk about Aster's originality.
Oh, right, but
he's clearly been inspired by Lynch.
And that's the thing, Lynch's influence isn't about just copying him. It's about taking inspiration, running with it.
So more like carrying the torch than following a blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. And his impact goes way beyond film and TV, too. I mean, I've seen his style referenced in music, art, even fashion.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's something about that aesthetic, that retro Americana, the surreal imagery, the bold colors.
Yeah.
It's like he's created a whole visual language.
He has, and other artists are using that language to express their own ideas.
But I think it's more than just visuals, too.
More than visuals, yeah.
There's something deeper, something primal that speaks to our fascination with darkness, with mystery.
Oh, totally. Lynch reminds us that there's more to reality than what we see on the surface, and that the most disturbing truths, well, they're often the ones we try to ignore.
Yeah.
His films, they force us to face our fears, to question what we think we know, and to embrace the unknown.
And in a world where everything feels so chaotic and uncertain, that kind of introspection can be, well, scary, but also kind of liberating.
It is. It reminds us that even in the darkest parts of ourselves, there's beauty, mystery, and truth to be found.
So I think it's safe to say David Lynch's legacy is secure.
Oh, yeah, he's a legend.
He's really changed the landscape of cinema and left his mark on culture as a whole.
Definitely. Especially now when we're bombarded with information, constantly distracted.
Right. Never a quiet moment.
Lynch's films offer a kind of refuge, a chance to slow down, to think, to feel.
To just be.
Exactly. They remind us that there's still room for mystery, for ambiguity, in a world that often feels so predictable.
And they challenge us to look deeper, to use our imaginations, to face that Lynchian void inside ourselves.
That void, yeah.
Maybe that's why people keep coming back to his work, even if they don't totally get it.
Yeah, I think there's power in that mystery, in that ambiguity. It forces us to engage, to question, to make our own meaning.
Well, that's a perfect note to end on, I think. Thank you so much for guiding me through this deep dive into the world of David Lynch.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for his work, even if it still creeps me out a little, I gotta say.
That's the Lynchian spirit.
It is.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, keep those lights on